Today, I'm going to show you how to supercharge your focus and how to achieve the goals that you've found impossible up until now. I'm going to tell you the 5 steps that I use in order to help myself stay focused because I have a super difficult time staying focused, and I know I'm not the only one out there. Number 1 would be to break it down. Whatever your goal is, you need to break it down into small, achievable tasks. If you go into doing a project or having a goal without breaking it down into achievable tasks that you can focus on, you're going to have a much more difficult time. Yesterday, I came in the office and I had one goal. That goal was to make a video on focus, ironically enough. I didn't take my own advice, and I sat around in the office distracted by the lights, the camera, everything except actually making a video. What is your goal that you're trying to accomplish? How can you break it down into tasks that can be done more easily and don't seem as daunting? Whether it's something like study for a test, practice for a job interview, whatever your goal is, the reason you want to break down a larger goal or a larger project into smaller tasks is because number 1, it won't seem as daunting or scary. And number 2, you will actually achieve the small tasks and see yourself gaining progress. As anyone who has difficulty with focus knows, not feeling like you've made any progress at all is extremely difficult. You can start to feel hopeless, start to feel like it's impossible after all. So what are you actually even doing? And then it's easier to give up and quit. Number 2 would be to take those tasks and make steps in an ordered way that makes sense to you. It does not matter if your list looks silly to other people or if a task seems mundane. If it's helpful for you, make a step for it. Don't feel embarrassed if you need to break down your project or your goal into steps that other people might not need. Some people may have the same goal as you or the same project as you and only have it broken down into 3 or 4 steps, whereas your list might be broken down into 10 or 12 steps. Don't feel embarrassed and don't compare yourself. If you need it and it makes sense to you, then that's the way the list needs to be. After all, the whole point is that you can stay focused and you can accomplish something, not that somebody else can. Number 3, focus on only one step at a time. This is probably one of the most difficult things to do, but if you can manage this, you'll find yourself succeeding. Do not multitask. Even when things become habitual, multitasking really isn't that great of an idea. Most studies show that less is accomplished with the more task switching that you do. Complete a task before going on to the next one. Stay completely dedicated to the step you're on until it's accomplished. If you've broken down the project into small enough tasks and then put them into steps, when you focus on a step, it should be fairly easy to accomplish. If it still seems overwhelming, then it's probably not broken down enough. Number 4, don't get lost in the details. For me, it's helpful to set timers every 10 to 15 minutes to snap me out of it whenever I'm working on a project. It's too easy for me to get hyper-focused on a step and spend an hour on it when it really should only take 5 minutes. When the timer goes off, ask yourself quickly if the step you're working on is still the appropriate step that you need to be working on, or if you've spent too much time on it, and if it's okay to move on now. If at any point in working through these steps, something comes to your mind and you feel like you should be working on it, rather than switching to that task immediately, find out where it needs to be placed as a step, and then write it there, knowing that you can come back to it. Number 5, and this is probably one of the most important ones, if you start feeling yourself getting distracted, take a break. By all means, if possible, take a break. Change your environment, get some physical activity going. You can go outside for a walk, get some sunshine, feel the air blowing on your skin, get your mind off of what it's been so focused on. Because a lot of the time, if you have difficulty focusing, most likely you also have difficulty hyper focusing, and not difficulty as in you can't, difficulty as in you do too much. So for us who have difficulty accomplishing projects because of focus, it's super important to take breaks and get out of the environment we're in and change it up a little before coming back to resume what we were doing. When you do come back, you can pick up right where you left off with the step you're on. Because you've broken it down and written it into a system of steps that work for you, you're guaranteed to know where you're at, where you left off, and where you need to pick up. Eventually, you'll find that you've actually completed something. You've completed your project. And hopefully along the way, the more you use these steps and tips, you'll find that it's not taking ages to get it completed, and you're able to focus on what you need to focus on. Try not to only watch the video and hear the breakdown, but next time you're coming up against a project, a task, or a goal that you really want to complete, think back to this video and think back to the steps and tips. Actually implement them and see how it works for you, and tell me below.